You can never have too much information. With Twin Spires, you can place your bets with confidence. Whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with Twin Spires and use stable alerts to never miss a bet.
Welcome back to the Twin Spires Racing Roundtable. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Vance Hansen for our weekly racing recap series. We're going to switch it up a little bit today. We had just one Kentucky Derby prep last weekend, the Tampa Bay Derby, one Oaks prep, the Santa Isabel, and this weekend we have a break in the action before we jump into 100-point races on the Derby and Oaks Trail. So we're going to look at the current leaderboard and talk our picks at the moment for the Derby and Oaks. We'll also look at some stakes action from the past weekend as well and talk about what caught our eye from that stakes action. But James, let's start with the Kentucky Derby. And right now, Timberlake, I believe, is in the lead. But who is your pick for the Derby if you were to bet today?
Well, I've got a top 10 list up at KentuckyDerby.com, and my top ranked contender right now is Sierra Leone off of the Racing Star. I thought that was the best prep. I think he deserves to be ranked number one. But with that being said, and you asked from a betting perspective, I thought 6-1 in pool 4 on Sierra Leone, given that he's never run a triple-digit speed rating or running a stakes race on a fast track. I thought 6-1 was too low to take. And I think single-digit odds, like in pool 5 of the Kentucky Derby future wager this weekend, will be too low to take on Sierra Leone. So right now, I'd be betting deterministic and just a touch. Granted, these both horses just broke their maidens 2 starts back. They've yet to run 2 turns or in a stakes race on a fast track. But I think they're really both potentially super talented, going to be super talented types at 2 turns. And even though they're extremely lightly raced, I'll take talented types at this point, Vance. Just based on potential, because we still got one prep left to go. And I think the final prep this year will be more important than it's been in a long time, or than I can ever remember before. Vance, what do you think?
Yeah, I also have Sierra Leone listed at the head of my top 10 on KentuckyDerby.com, but it's a lukewarm endorsement at this point because he is the general consensus favorite, but he really hasn't run much faster, if at all, compared to the other leading contenders. So he's a bit of an underlay at this point. I agree with you about deterministic. I liked his Gotham. We'll find out his 2-turn ability next time out, probably in the Wood Memorial. Another horse I'd give a look at is Honor Marie. I'd give him another chance to see what he can do in the Louisiana Derby next week. Give him a chance to reproduce his better stuff in that race. He had several things working against him in his comeback in the Racing Star last month, where he finished kind of in the mid-pack, and he seems capable of better. Another late developer I'd potentially watch also is Tuscan Sky, who's 2 for 2 for Todd Pletcher. He hasn't beaten much field of any size in his first 2 outings, but he seems to be coming on fast and is producing some strong figures in advance of his stakes debut, Ashley. And I know you want to expand a little bit on Tuscan Sky and some others.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about Tuscan Sky, but also I'm with you all. Sierra Leone's at the top of my list at the moment. He wore blinkers last out in the Racing Star and looked way more professional in that race. Of course, he's performed on off tracks the last 2 races. And so I've been saying if we get rain on the first Saturday of May, he's absolutely going to be my pick. But I'm always hoping sunny skies on the first Saturday in May. And so it'd be nice to see him on a fast track in the Bluegrass to see how he handles that as well. But Tuscan Sky has been an interesting potential contender if we see him on a Derby prep to earn some points and make the field, because on Racing Star Day, he won an allowance optional claimer on the undercard, and he posted a 97 Brisnet speed figure, which was 4 points faster than what Sierra Leone earned in the Racing Star the same day. So from a speed perspective, Tuscan Sky, we can see him in a prep and he gets another similar figure. He's going to be my pick in the Derby going forward.
Plus,
Well,
I know you're a big fan of Vino Rosso, so
yes.
he was your freshman sire to watch, I believe. Is that
Yes,
right?
we all covered first crop sires this season, and I
Yeah.
had Vino Rosso, and so Tuscan Sky certainly caught my eye. And James, you had Flame Away, right? And who'd you
Yes.
have? I can't remember.
Vance, did you have one?
Oh, I did. My mind is escaping me right now. It's been a
Not
while
a
since I
notable
did it, unfortunately.
one. Well, it's all right. We don't always have, sometimes we don't get the most exciting first crop sires to cover, but we'll see if Vino Rosso ends up with a Derby starter this year. Let's talk about the fillies. Vance, at the moment, which filly do you think is the one to beat in the Oaks?
Well, I was very impressed with Intricate's victory in the Golden Rod last fall so much that I actually put her as a top three finalist for the Eclipse Award for 2-year-old filly of the year. And arguably, I thought she was probably the most appealing in my eyes Kentucky Oaks candidate going into the winter. And I'm sticking by her ahead of her rematch against Tarifa in next week's Fairgrounds Oaks. I think she's going to come on from that performance in the Rachel Alexandra last month, especially if she gets a fast track, which she didn't get in the Rachel Alexandra. And the connections obviously know how to succeed in the Oaks. Trainer Brendan Walsh, jockey Tyler Gaffleon won the race last year with Pretty Mischievous. And I think Intricate's candidacy is also helped by the fact that that few, if any, major fast contenders have emerged from either Florida or Southern California so far this winter. The Kentucky Oaks has been dominated in recent years by Fairgrounds and Oaklawn-based fillies, and from what I've seen so far, I'd give that group the edge again so far, James.
Yeah, I agree. The Rachel Alexandra is the best Kentucky Oaks prep I've seen in my estimation so far. And I respect the top two very much. I'll mention Tarifa first. She's my top ranked Kentucky Oaks contender. The Rachel Alexandra was her first stakes attempt, her stakes debut. She's now won 3 or 4 starts for Brad Cox. And what I really liked about this Bernardini filly is that when she got into upper stretch, she was caught behind rivals momentarily. And when Flavian Pratt guided her to the outside, she altered path and kept accelerating without losing any momentum. And I thought that was a real strong turn of foot, showed nice versatility and adaptability. And I thought it was a real positive sign for Tarifa moving forward for Brad Cox. So I like Tarifa first, and, Intricate would be my second pick as well, from that race, because I do believe the Rachel Alexander has been the toughest prep so far for the Kentucky Oaks, Ashley.
I agree with you both. Tarifa, I put slightly ahead right now, but Intricate looked really good in that Rachel Alexandra. And, from an Oaks perspective from last year, we had Brendan Walsh, Tyler Gaffleon win the Oaks with Pretty Mischievous. Same connections for Intricate, but then Godolphin is tied to Tarifa, who also won with Pretty Mischievous last year. So maybe they'll get another win with one of those horses, or somehow the connections will tie into the Oaks winner this year. But another filly that I'm interested in is Candied for Todd Pletcher, was just beaten 3/4 of a length in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, had a 99 Bristnet speed figure in that race, has yet to make her 3-year-old debut. Obviously, just FYI, won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies and then scratched 2 weekends ago, so we haven't seen her on the Oaks Trail as a 3-year-old. But looking at that race, I think Candied looks like a filly that could take a huge step forward in her 3-year-old debut. And she's been working out at Palm Beach Downs, and those workouts have looked pretty sharp. So I'm interested to see where she shows up next. And if she gets another big Bristnet speed figure, she'll be the one for me, I think, going into the Kentucky Oaks as well. There's also, I wanted to mention Copian over in California, had to face Kinza, a Bob Baffert runner in the, I get them all mixed up. There's Santa Ynez.
The Las
Sturgeon-ish,
Virgenis, I
that's what
think.
it was. And then Kinza came back and won the Santa Isabel this weekend, but Kinza is ineligible for the Oaks. So Copian may be the best California filly, and potentially we'll see her on Friday before the Kentucky Derby. Well, let's talk about the stakes action from this past weekend. James, what else caught your eye from the weekend?
Well, I'll mention the Tampa Bay Derby. Obviously, that race is in the headlines for the wrong reasons, with the tote failure, tote delay, and then basically canceling it as a wagering race. But Domestic Product. I thought he looked good winning the race. And now, granted, it wasn't a fast race. They went extremely slow early and set a very, very glacial pace. But I liked how he got up to win. I thought No More Time had a better trip, obviously, racing up close to the pace. He struck the lead in deep stretch, and I thought Domestic Product was extremely game to run him down. And while he only got an 84 Brisnet speed rating, Domestic Product earned a 125 Brisnet late pace number. And that's going to be probably the top number in the Derby field this year. And he ran his final 5/16 of a mile in 29.26 seconds, which is going to be the fastest final 5/16 for any Road to the Kentucky Derby qualifier this year, probably. But like I said, that he's never earned a big speed rating, so that's naturally a concern. The quality of competition, we'll find out whether or not that was a strong field or not moving forward. Right now, I'm a little bit dubious of it. And we'll learn more about Domestic Product in his final prep, but he definitely has something going for him right now for Chad Brown. And I like his progress. I'll also mention one other thing. Nice Sauce won't be in the Kentucky Derby this year, being trained by Bob Baffert, but everybody's looking forward to him running in the Preakness and seeing what he has to offer when he does get in the Triple Crown. And he has not worked in more than 2 weeks. So I'll be keeping an eye on that moving forward. Hasn't worked since February 25th. Since his last workout, he's been scratching the San Felipe and bet down to favoritism in the Preakness future wager pool. So definitely something to watch moving forward, Vance.
Yeah, I'm going to take a little different tack from what we normally talk about when this question arises. What caught your eye? I'm going to mention a horse called Storm the Court, who lost his 21st consecutive start when he endured a caboose trip in Saturday's Silks Run Stakes at Gulfstream. Storm the Court, as some of you might remember, was voted the champion 2-year-old male of 2019 and has since devolved into an allowance class grass sprinter who's lost 21 in a row and has gone unplaced in 12 of his last 15 starts. Now, Storm the Court garnered nearly 62% of the Eclipse vote that year, which was hardly a ringing endorsement as most Eclipse votes go. And it was on the basis of losing his jockey in the Del Mar Futurity, losing the American Pharoah Stakes by more than 8 lengths, and then winning a modest renewal of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile at odds approaching 46-1. Obviously, the only substantial thing he did that season, and to me, that's Exhibit A on why a voter should probably think twice before blindly defaulting to Breeders' Cup winners as 2-year-old champions. For the record, going back in time, I backed Maxfield for that award. To me, he passed the eye test, winning the Breeders' Futurity a lot more than Storm the Court did, winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And for what it's worth, Maxfield went on to win 6 of his final 9 starts, including 5 graded stakes, culminating his career with a Grade 1 victory in the Clark. So just that's my story and my rant for this week on what else caught my eye, Ashley.
Surprisingly, I don't even think Kenny Payne had that long of a losing streak.
No, I don't think so. Maybe close though. Yeah.
Very close.
It only seems like 21 in a row.
It does feel that way. Well, I'm going to talk about Sweet Azteca, who pulled off an upset of Adair Manor in the Beholder Mile on Saturday, putting her in the mix of the older dirt female division. This is a Michael McCarthy trainee, and she was trying graded stakes competition for the second time. She went gate to wire while facing a 5-time graded stakes winner in Adair Manor, who went off at almost even money. Sweet Azteca earned a 101 Brisnet speed figure. This was her first 2-turn start. She now has 3 wins from 4 career starts, and she had a 3rd place finish when racing in a grade 3 event in a sprint. So certainly looks like she could be in the top of the mix of the older dirt female division now, and kind of interesting to see Adair Manor come out and disappoint in that next start. I know, James, you talked about her in the jury. We thought she was going to rebound in this race, but I guess Sweet Azteca is a lot more.
I faded Adair Manor. I
Oh, you
played.
did?
I did because she lost her comeback last year in the exact same role, and I played Green Up, who ran third. So I wasn't
Okay.
in Sweet Azteca, but I do think it's interesting. She's 3 for 4 for Michael McCarthy, and one of those races, her first race out was at Churchill Downs, where she broke her maiden impressively. So moving forward, I look at the Humana Distaff and the La Troyenne. You got a pair of grade ones on Derby weekend, one at 7 furlongs, one at a mile and a 16th. It'll be interesting to see which race Sweet Azteca targets.
Well, congrats on that fade. I had it wrong. I thought you were backing her, but yeah, you were right to fade Adair Manor. And that was a pretty good field too. You mentioned Green Up, and then we had Desert Dawn, who finished third in the Oaks a couple years ago. So yeah, interesting field to.
The one filly that did run well was Interstate Daydream. She wound up
Yes.
last in her first start for Pletcher. So we'll see if she can rebound moving forward.
And I've heard Sweet Azteca is being pointed for the Derby City Distaff on Derby week, and I think that's a smart
That's
move.
right.
I think that's smart of them to keep her at 7 furlongs. She got away with a slow pace in the Beholder Mile, and I don't think 2 turns is really going to be up her alley. I think Michael McCarthy's got a really good sprinter on his hands here, just like he had with CC a few years ago, and pointing her for 6 and 7 furlong races, primarily 7 furlong races. The rest of the way, I think, is the way to go.
Thanks for pointing that out, Vance. Derby City Distaff. Yes.
Her dam also comes from the family of Tarifa, so full circle to the Oaks.
Could be a big week.
All right, that's all the time we have today for the Racing Roundtable. We'll be back next Tuesday with more recaps from the stakes action this coming weekend, and check us out on Thursday with the Twin Spires jury for our best bets and fades.